It's been another day of continued upward price action for Bitcoin. Since the last update that I gave you guys, Bitcoin was, it was testing its resistance level, saw a little bit of a pullback, but this pullback didn't do anything for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just right back up in this key resistance area right now, and I cannot stress to you how strong of a position this is for Bitcoin. I've been maintaining this perspective for quite some time, and I've been telling you guys that I've been expecting the support down here at 25k. It is beautiful to see that support has acted exactly as support, and it's taken us right deep into our resistance area right now, and I think we're handling it really well. I want to talk to you about some of the really big things that could happen if Bitcoin continues this momentum, and what that could mean for Bitcoin in terms of getting back up to 40k, 50k, and so on. It could get pretty crazy from here, guys. There's a lot to unpack, so bear with me here. If you are excited for this one, do me a favor and smash up the likes, double check that you're subscribed and all that good stuff. The first thing that we're going to start off with is acknowledging that we were continuously testing this resistance area with a good number of attempts, right? And we weren't necessarily getting particularly deep into the resistance area, but we were definitely testing it. We had 4 key attempts at this resistance area until we finally started to break through. We're on the hourly time frame right here, and I think we've done pretty well. We've been rejected right at the very top of the parallel channel, so there you go. TA works absolutely beautifully, and we're now, this is huge, we're now potentially getting ready to find support at this previous area of resistance. And when we're talking about ways for the market to kind of trend upwards and start setting new highs and stuff like that, this is a critical component of that picture. We need to use previous areas of resistance as new areas of support. What that does is it shows the bears that they can't drive the price lower than this, and it shows the bulls that, well, people are bullish, right? Where previously people wanted to buy Bitcoin here, the next time we started to drop, the bulls were actually saying, no, I don't know if Bitcoin's actually going to get down here, so I want to buy it a little bit more aggressively just in case, because my demand is high enough and there's just not enough supply in this market, so I'm going to get in so that I don't kind of risk missing out on this train. And that's what happens with these resistance areas. And so this is something that we've been talking about quite a bit on this YouTube channel. We've been very focused on this 26.7 level. And I was telling you guys that it's not like the strongest area of resistance in the world. We've done like a lot of like up and down around this level. So, the fact that we're above it now is amazing, but I also don't want you guys to get carried away and think that this is, the savior for Bitcoin and that, we can't drop back down. We certainly can, and we've done that many, many times. But the fact is right now we have, and like previously, we have kind of been able to get a little bit above this area and now potentially be able to come back down and find some support at this very same line that we're at right now before potentially having another blast higher. Now, obviously, these attempts didn't really result in anything, but since then, it's been quite a lot of time, right? And one of the things that we are very well aware of in these markets is that the markets punish us with time and with price. And with time, this is really, really important. If it's been, 40 days, pardon me. If you've, if it's been 40 days since we've seen, that sneeze really caught me off guard, guys. It wasn't really even a sneeze. I don't know what the hell just happened. Then we're in a situation where we've had enough of a correction, potentially. This is going to be down to your own interpretation. And so if we start attacking these resistance levels again, and especially when you consider that, I think, the resistance now that we're facing is a lot heavier than the resistance we had before. We had a lot more confluence right now compared to before, right? Before it was just a horizontal level. Now it's an Ichimoku cloud, EMA ribbon, horizontal level, diagonal level. There is just a lot more that's piling on Bitcoin right now that previously wasn't really the case. And yeah, we're still doing okay. So, when we're kind of, up against a lot of bearish things and we're doing fine, then, at some point you got to start asking the question, well, maybe this market might have a little bit of strength. How much strength does it have, right? So if we manage to get this bounce off this level, the next area that I'm going to be looking at will be this 27.4 area. This has also been problematic for Bitcoin. You can see that we formed quite a few rejections off this level, quite a lot of rejections actually. So this is definitely the next key level for Bitcoin. If we do get up there, it would be amazing to see some sort of pullback, maybe come back down here, attack it again, maybe, some sort of an ascending triangle. I don't know. These things are beautiful when they play out. They're nice and slow. They're also pretty predictable. Bitcoin loves to produce these kind of patterns. This is the kind of thing where if you've been in the markets for, 6 years like I have, much more than that now actually, not much more, just a little bit more than 6 years, you're going to start to just kind of understand which patterns are, Bitcoin is more receptive to, which patterns are more reliable, which are less reliable for Bitcoin. And when you can start to identify that, you can start to expect them, you can start to notice them very easily and trade based off them, and that's where there's a lot of power in this market. There's a lot of things available to us to take advantage of. So, resistance up here at 27.4, I don't think it will be the end of the world. It's just not the strongest area of resistance, and we've already broken a pretty strong one. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind is, like I said, with all the confluence at this level, the fact that we've broken it is a really strong sign of strength. And, comparatively, I just don't think that the other levels are going to throw up that much of a challenge for Bitcoin right now. So, I don't think that we're going to have too many problems breaking this. I think, like I said, maybe a bit of a rejection, but we should be able to continue on higher. And this is where it starts to get really fun, because if we do end up breaking this area of resistance, and especially if we get above this yellow line, there's really nothing left. I mean, you can see it quite clearly here. We couldn't really get above the yellow line on these instances here, but when we finally did, we popped. I mean, it was, within a very, very short space of time, within just like 5 hours, the price was up by 6.5%, which is a lot. I mean, that's a really big price move for such a short period of time. And, I just don't think there's that much resistance between us and getting to this level. So, 30K, 31K becomes a pretty easy prediction to make. The fact is that Bitcoin has already done a lot of the hard work. We just need to break out of this right now. If we don't manage to break out of this, obviously things could get pretty bad, and we could be looking at a drop. But this is also a really nice short, right? People that are a little bit more bearish, this is a nice 10% range for those bearish traders, that they're going to be considering right now, because it is a resistance level. And, for all intents and purposes, resistance levels are where you go short, right? This is just where it makes sense. When you've got all this confluence with, granted, very reliable indicators in my experience between the Ichimoku cloud and the EMA ribbon and just these basic horizontal diagonal tools. These are generally extremely reliable tools to be deploying into the market. These traders will be interested in short positions because of that. I do want to highlight to you guys that if you are interested in trading these markets, you can actually check out the links in the description down below to get over $100,000 in bonuses. And the first exchange here that I've listed, BingX, will also allow you to trade all of these stocks, Forex, indices, S&P 500, gold, oil with leverage without KYC. That means no picture of yourself and no picture of your ID. You're still getting over $1,000 in bonuses as well. So this is just ultimate flexibility. You literally are only putting in a Bitcoin deposit and you're getting access to all of these major markets with leverage. So you could just get right into the fun if that's something that interests you. And Bybit, one of the things that's really cool about Bybit, other than the fact that it is, in my opinion, the best exchange in the crypto space, is that you also get up to 30K in just free money that they're going to give you in your account. So you can trade with that money. You can do whatever you like with it. Any profits that you generate are yours to withdraw. And you're going to get this bonus just depending on what you deposit and trade with. So definitely check it out with the link in the description. OKX up to 60K in rewards. This is a much easier reward to get. These are based off luck. Bybit's rewards, that's based off your deposit size and trading size. So check them all out. Lots of amazing offers for you if you are interested in trading these markets. And it's well worth having this stuff prepared in advance so that, when the volatility comes, you don't want to be scrambling around and trying to sign up on exchanges and depositing money and stuff like that. That stuff for a responsible trader will be done in advance. So, resistance here. This is the logical place to be looking at those short positions, obviously. We'd be targeting the 25K level if that's what happens. And like I said, if we do get down here, this would be something that really shakes my confidence in the market. I think that Bitcoin price right now has a really, really nice opportunity to continue rallying up. So if this does not materialize and we end up falling back down, that is where I'm going to significantly change my perspective and probably become a lot more bearish in the short-term market. There is still phenomenal support below 25K, and I've been very vocal about that for a very long time. And obviously, I still stand by that analysis. That is still very much true, right? There's some really, really nice levels. If I just drop a couple horizontal lines to show you what they look like, some really, really nice levels, 22.8, 24.1, there's 23.7 as well right here. Really, really good support areas for Bitcoin to come down to if the 25K area it does fit, if it does fail. But we don't want to, we just don't want it to get to that, because if that does happen, if it does start failing, then we're just rolling the clock back. We're undoing our progress, and this right now is just such a perfect pattern for Bitcoin. I mean, if you zoom out, I know that we're kind of like we're in the motions right now. We're like watching this chart. We're looking at like all of the day-to-day movements of what's going on. But if you zoom out a little bit and just kind of appreciate where this market actually is, depending on how you've drawn these lines, we've actually already gotten a breakout right here, which is absolutely beautiful. And mind you, this chart is actually out of date because this is the BLX chart. Let me actually show this to you on a chart that, is still relevant right now. And if we just kind of extend these lines out a little bit. These charts are all a little bit different because of the way the price action is drawn. But you can see that, if we just kind of connect the majority of these kind of candle bodies and wicks, probably move the line just a little bit lower like this to connect the candle bodies, we are above the falling wedge right now. And we don't even need to worry about this. I can just take this off. It doesn't actually hold much relevance because the bottom line is that, we are in an uptrend right now. That's super, super clear. And we've had, one major pullback and now a second major pullback. And this is just really standard kind of price action. I think the fact that this dump has not intensified is a very strong sign that the longer term uptrend that we're in right now, that we've been in since the beginning of this year, we're kind of losing perspective of this. Bitcoin has been bullish this entire year so far. The significant moves have only been to the upside, and we've only had shallow pullbacks or quick pullbacks, but nothing significant. These are extremely strong indications that the market could be ready to rally on upwards from here. And that is not something that I would urge people to ignore. This is a critical component of the market, is understanding the trend that we're in, and if the trend has been correcting, getting ready to continue to move on to the upside again, especially when that happens coming off the most significant area of support that we've got on the chart. This stuff wasn't complicated to begin with. I was telling you guys the same thing when we were all the way up here about the 25k level. Now that we've bounced off it, my analysis still hasn't changed, because the same thing I've said from the very beginning is exactly what we've seen play out in this market. So if you do take these more kind of sensible, grounded, realistic, and just kind of basic, to be honest, approaches, like my analysis is extremely basic. I haven't shown you a single indicator so far in this YouTube video, yet you understand 100% of what's going on, because the market just is simple in that way. We don't need to do complicated things. I've seen some weird fucking charts, guys, of people just throwing all sorts of like spirals on the chart, and I wish I could understand what these people were seeing. I'm sure that they've got something going on in their heads, but I'm not capable of it. I'm a much more normal person, and so for me, I just want to keep my life simple. I'm only here to make money, right? I don't really care about drawing fancy lines on my chart. If I'm making money, it doesn't really matter to me how I'm doing it as a trader. So obviously, let's not take that out of context, but I just mean, like trading these markets normally and going long off the support levels and so on. So, I'm liking that, in terms of where we are. I don't really think that we are going to pull back. I mean, we are at a resistance level, so I'm not going to hold my breath, but, I just don't think that we're particularly bearish. And here's where it could get really interesting is if we do take a look back at this chart right here and just analyze this on the weekly time frame, if we start to get some significant weekly closes, coming in here, this is where it could get really interesting. Now, granted, it is only a Tuesday, right? So, it's a little bit too early to start talking about weekly close for sure. But, if we do start to on this weekly time frame, if we do start to see, a nice big breakout with a nice bit of clearance, like for example, I don't know, like 5% up, 10% up above, that is going to be a very, very clear break of this downtrend on the weekly time frame. And especially if we get above this high, if we get above this high, that's it. But the thing that I want you to keep in mind, I know this might seem a little bit far away, is that all it will take is one breakout event. All it will take is one fat-fingered buy order, and we're going to start triggering some FOMO here, ladies and gents. The fact is, we've seen a nice pullback. If we get a big fuck you candle now, what do you think the noobs are going to think? What do you think the retail traders are going to think? If we've seen a very nice bounce off a logical support area, the thing is like this analysis was super obvious, right? To you and me, this was super obvious. If you've been subscribed, you're going to be very, very familiar with my style of analysis, obviously. But for the majority of traders, for the majority of analysts, they were actually super bearish down at 25k, right? And that's just because they're stupid. That's just because they're not good traders. But the thing is that when the reality sets in on them, if we do get a pump, reality will set in on them that this was an obvious area of support, and that's where FOMO could start coming in. So I know that it looks a little bit far away right now to get back up to this high. It's about a 15% move, but the first 10% of this move can happen incredibly quickly, if a little bit of FOMO is triggered. And I think that is, really something that we ought to keep in mind and pay attention to. This can change very, very quickly. All we need to do is break the resistance level, and that's it. Things can start skyrocketing. And this is the thing, is that this is our high, right? So every time we kind of get above our high, sometimes we form deviations. We had a deviation right here. We got above this high, didn't really do anything, and the market came back down. That would suck if that happened. But what's different about this situation and this situation here is the time, right? Over here, we entered this range and we basically had like 42 days of doing nothing. Over here, we entered this range and we've had 70 days of doing nothing. We have paid with way more time in this market, and that's what makes me think that we don't need more of a correction. We've already had a price-based correction. We've already had a time-based correction. It's taken a long time. It's dragged us down by like 20%. Maybe not 20%. Yeah, 20%, which is a good enough pullback. I mean, it's Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, we know. I fully believe Bitcoin's going to have many, many more disastrous drops and 40%, 80% drops, whatever, but at the same time, Bitcoin is maturing, right? So in a kind of normal, this is a bit of a normal market situation right now, what we're in right now. I mean, it's not like crazy, it's not amazing, it's not horrible. In a normal environment, a 20% drop for a a 20% drop in the S&P 500 puts it in a bear market by like every definition, So Bitcoin obviously is going to be a little bit more volatile, but 20% is still a lot, especially for an asset which is a lot more mature now in 2023 compared to where it was in like 2018, 2019, 2020. And I think that is worth keeping in mind. So this kind of rocket ship, it can just start and take Bitcoin way higher, and that's something that I really want you to keep in mind. We don't want to be surprised by that kind of thing, right? That's why, it's really, really important for me, for example, to have held on to my long position for all this time. This is probably the longest position I've ever held on to in my life now. I'm just not a long-term trader. I usually only trade short-term moves, but there was just no reason for me to close this long from all of the analysis that I was seeing. Even when we were right at the top, I wouldn't want to close it at the hopes of maybe coming down to 25K because it took 70 days to get here. It took 63 days to get here, that's a really long time to wait. For a level that may or may not be hit, because we didn't know if we would come down to 25K. It was obvious. It certainly looked possible, but I wouldn't want to be out of the market for 70 days and potentially not be in this trade, right? What if we only pull back to 26 and then we start going up and I wouldn't even be in my long trade anymore? You know what I mean? So for me, it was important to stay in this position, and I'm still happy with that because I think that, now that we've gotten this bounce and we've shown a good amount of strength, and, there's a decent bit of volume as well. Let's not ignore these facts. Yeah. I mean, there's still a nice amount of volume on this chart as well to kind of support what's going on with Bitcoin. It's actually not really on this chart for Coinbase. Not at all, surprisingly. Okay, never mind. This volume is being reported differently. I don't know where I've seen the volume then, because I did see a really big spike. If you guys know where, let me know in the comments. But let's come back to this chart right here and look at this on the weekly time frame. This is where it's at, really. This is where a lot of the attention belongs, in my opinion. And it is, a case of getting up above this 31K area. I think this is where a lot of things can change. I do want to give credit to MDX Crypto. He actually tweeted something very similar about this earlier today on Twitter. Go ahead and search him up. He's a very good friend of mine. Fucking love the guy. If you like my analysis, his style of analysis is actually very similar to mine, but he's been in the markets for way longer than me. He's way more experienced. He is way more knowledgeable. Every time I speak to him, I learn something. So if you like me, he is just way cooler. So definitely check him out. I have no problem recommending people to go to him because I can't think of. I mean, there aren't that many YouTubers around that are better than him. I definitely consider myself to be one of the very realistic guys as well. There aren't very many. He is one of them, and he's fucking hilarious too. So definitely check him out if you like him. And so a close above kind of 31. I think that's what would really just show us that I mean we've now set a new higher high. We've clearly punched in a new higher low. And when we punched in a new higher low and then we sweep the high, that is where essentially where we say goodbye, right? And so we set this high right here. We punched in a new higher low. As soon as we sweep this high, look at what happened. I mean, it was already a moonshot to begin with, but the market just shot straight up. Yes, we consolidated for 3 weeks after that, but again, we shot up after that. Good things happen to the market when we clear previous highs, especially if it happens right after setting a higher low. It's just a really bullish setup in the market. I would tell you things are bearish if things are bearish, but they're not, and at least not in my perspective, and they haven't been since we were down at 17K. And that's why, since we were down at 17K, I've been trading long positions. I took a couple shorts here and there for like short punts, nothing crazy, nothing big at all. I just wanted to kind of trade some scalps. But most of my analysis, most of my trading, all of my energy and focus has been towards the upside. And obviously that has paid me very, very handsomely as well. I do want to take a look at the 4 Flies dashboard here. I don't think the data has updated since the previous video. Yeah, we've got a new fear and greed rating here. So 49, nothing crazy. We're still in neutral territory. It's better than being bullish, right? I'd much rather us be neutral than be greedy right now, because it does mean that we have a little bit more space to go before we enter, quite optimistic territory. Long and short ratio keeps evening out though. This is beautiful. The top trader and the retail trader long and short ratio now are nearly identical, which is beautiful. This is exactly what you want to see. This is telling us that things are a little bit more reasonable now. We don't have retail traders piling on the long side, and that is one of the things that can make it a lot easier for the market to rise higher. Obviously, we know that retail typically lose money, so if they're all piled on in one direction, which granted they still are, 55% long is still a lot. It's not 50%, it's not even, and it's a fair bit. This is still an imbalance for sure. And that's why, when we had like 2, 3, up here, when it was like 60-70% long, it was just fucking asinine, just unbelievable. Hard to kind of digest those numbers. But right now it is still a little bit too far, but just way more reasonable than what we were dealing with before. So you talk about things that potentially were causing problems for Bitcoin. Do they still exist? Have those problems that Bitcoin is facing, have those problems kind of subsided a little bit? I think so. I think that's very, very possible. So definitely something that I'm going to continue to be paying attention to in this market, along with the traditional finance market. So I'm going to be coming back to you guys with a YouTube video later on today. The S&P 500 opens in 7 hours. I'm going to come back to you guys roughly around the time when it closes to give you guys my next update on the market when we see the developments across traditional finance. Right now, we're seeing all of the right signs that we want. We're seeing the dollar continuing to drop here, and forming a slight uptrend, and Bitcoin doesn't really care about it, so Bitcoin is performing really strong in the face of the dollar. Bitcoin has lagged behind a little bit, but it clearly is starting to catch up. It's had a very, very good start to the week, and I think it's in a good place right now. I mean, yes, of course, Bitcoin can screw this up and come back down. Of course, any of that is possible, and pullbacks are still welcome. I don't really want to see us dropping below 26.7, but pullbacks are still welcome. At the end of the day, in any uptrend, you need to have pullbacks, right? It's only when you get the pullback that you can start going up, right? Come down here, get the pullback, you start moving up. Get the pullback, you start moving up. This is a necessary... I don't want to see. It's not even an evil. It's just a necessary component of these markets where, you have to get pullbacks in order to move up. If you're trending down, right? If you're trending down like this, we trend down, we have a pullback, we pull back upwards, and then we trend down again. We pull back upwards and we trend down again. I think when you kind of start to visualize the market in this way, and you really start to accept that this is just a reality of the market, and you can either be upset about it or make money because of it, it really kind of changes how you view the market, and you'll just never be upset again. I think that's a really important thing. It's like a lot of people, they, maybe they're too deep in their investments or whatever, and they just get upset or they get scared or whatever the case may be. You won't really do any of that stuff when you visualize the market this way, because you'll just accept that all of this stuff is going to happen, and you'll even start to expect it. And when that happens, it just can't hurt you. You can actually position yourself to make money off that kind of thing instead, which puts you in a way more powerful position. And on that note, again, I do want to highlight to you the beautiful opportunities available to you, and also the VIP group. If you want to see how I'm trading these markets in real time, you want to get every single insight behind my trade ideas, why I'm considering something, why I'm committing to something, why I'm pulling out of an idea, and so on and so forth. If you want to learn about the theory of all the analysis and trading that I carry out and see all of the practical application of that in real time in front of you, Four Flies VIP is the place to be. You can join by following these steps on screen, and definitely while you're down there, check out the beautiful offers with these exchanges as well. BingX with no KYC allows you to trade a ridiculous amount of markets with leverage, which is absolutely amazing, and Bybit will be giving you up to 30k in bonuses. These are definitely two of the best options that I've got for you guys, but every exchange down here is an exchange that I'm using. PrimeXBT, also traditional finance focused, with a really easy $7,000 bonus they're going to give you, which is, again, just free money that you can trade with. All of this is really cool, because you imagine if you're able to throw this free money into the market, 30k for example, and you make a 20% profit. It wasn't your money to begin with, so it doesn't really matter. A 20% profit is just a 2% move on 10 times leverage, right? It's pretty easy to pull that off, and you'll take home 6k. You can withdraw that. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about, the scale of how much money they're giving you and what you can do with it. So yeah, well worth checking out also OKX, like I said, it's hard to miss these rewards. I know that many of you guys have been kind of bounty hunting and getting all of these rewards, and obviously that is very, very cool. My perspective here is, if you can do it and if these exchanges are welcoming it, then why the fuck not? Go ahead and take all of these bonuses that you can get. You don't need to keep your money on these exchanges. Once you get these bonuses, you can even withdraw your own money. I don't care about that. I just care about you getting this free shit, because why not, right? Very, very cool to be able to have it. So there you go. I hope you have enjoyed this video. You know exactly what to do. If you have, hit up the likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.